The Centauri Peace Summit was supposed to mark humanity's formal acceptance into the galactic community. Instead, it became the catalyst for our species' darkest hour and most terrible triumph. Olivia Bennett stood before the Archean High Council, her diplomatic robes flowing in the artificial breeze of the Grand Chamber. At 16, she represented everything humanity hoped to showcase to the galactic community: brilliance, adaptability, and most importantly, the capacity for peace. The daughter of Earth's leading xenologist, she had grown up studying alien cultures and had shown an unprecedented ability to bridge cultural gaps. The chamber itself was a testament to Archean architectural supremacy: crystalline spires that seemed to defy gravity, light that danced through prismatic walls, and an atmosphere of ancient authority that made even the most seasoned diplomats feel small. 5,000 representatives from across the galaxy watched as this human child prepared to present Earth's case for full membership in the Galactic Concordat. What none of them knew was that the Archeans had already decided Earth's fate. High Archon Vwextel, his iridescent scales shimming with barely contained disdain, watched from his elevated throne. The Archeans had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, their technological superiority unchallenged until humanity's explosive advancement into space. In just 3 centuries, humans had progressed from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. It terrified them. Honorable members of the Council, Olivia began, her voice clear and unwavering. Earth comes before you not as supplicants, but as partners in the great journey of galactic civilization. The words would never be finished. A sharp crack echoed through the chamber as quantum-locked stasis fields activated, freezing every human delegate in place. Olivia's eyes, still able to move, widened in horror as she realized what was happening. High Archon Vwextel rose, his voice booming across the chamber. "We have watched your kind with growing concern. Your technology advances too quickly. Your populations expand too rapidly. Your ambition knows no bounds. You represent an unacceptable risk to galactic stability." The other alien delegates watched in shocked silence as Archean guards moved among the frozen humans. Some showed horror, others relief, but none dared to speak against the Archean Empire's will. "Let this serve as an eternal lesson," Vwextel continued. "Some species are not meant for the stars." The stasis field around Olivia's head dissolved, allowing her to speak. The guards had positioned her to watch as they prepared to execute the other human delegates. "Why?" she managed to ask, her voice breaking. "We came in peace." "Peace," Vwextel sneered, "is for equals. Your kind could never be our equals. You would eventually challenge us, overthrow us. We have seen the simulations. This is merely preventative medicine." The execution was methodical, clinical. One by one, 200 of Earth's finest diplomats, scientists, and cultural ambassadors were eliminated. Olivia was forced to watch every moment, her young mind shattering under the weight of the horror. But it was what she said next that would haunt the Archeans forever. "You don't understand humans at all," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We don't need to be equals to destroy you. We just need a reason." Back on Earth, the transmission of the massacre played out in real time. In military commands, government chambers, and public squares, humanity watched in stunned silence. Then, something changed. It wasn't a proclamation of war or a roar of outrage. It was worse. Every human communication channel went dark. Every human ship disappeared from galactic tracking. Every human outpost fell silent. As if humanity had simply ceased to exist. The Archeans celebrated what they saw as submission. Other races whispered that humans had retreated back to their home system in fear. None of them understood that they were witnessing the calm before a storm that would reshape the galaxy. In a hidden facility beneath Europa's ice, Fleet Admiral Ryota Tanaka reviewed the final preparations for Operation Stormbreak. Humanity had long suspected something like this might happen. They had prepared. The weapons they had kept hidden, the fleets they had built in secret, the technologies they had developed in darkness, all of it was ready. "Send the order," he commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. Authorization code, remember Olivia. Across the solar system, humanity's true power began to stir. The Arxians had made a fatal mistake. They had given humanity something far more dangerous than any weapon. They had given them someone to avenge. The Arxian mining colony on Helios 4 was having another ordinary day when everything changed. No alarm sounded. No warnings flashed. The colony's 50,000 inhabitants simply disappeared. The only trace of their existence was the half-finished meals in their quarters and the still-warm cups of morning beverages in their workstations. When the rescue fleet arrived 3 days later, they found a ghost town. Security footage showed nothing, just people there one moment, gone the next. It was as if someone had reached into reality itself and plucked them out of existence. This was just the beginning. In his war room aboard the ESS Thanatos, Commander Victor Reardon watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Holographic markers showed dozens of similar operations occurring simultaneously across Arxian space. Each one executed with surgical precision, each one feeding the growing fear in the Empire that had dared to execute Earth's diplomats. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of contained fury. Lieutenant Elaine Park, his tactical officer, responded without looking up from her quantum interface. "Ghost protocol proceeding as planned, sir. 37 colonies evacuated. No casualties. No traces. The Arxians still haven't detected our quantum signature." The secret of their success lay in Project Wraith, a revolutionary teleportation system that could target specific genetic signatures across light-years of space. The Arxians had thought they were dealing with a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel. They never suspected that humanity had mastered the ability to manipulate spacetime itself. On the bridge of the ESS Nemesis, Commander Natasha Volkov received a priority transmission from Earth Command. "Phase 2 authorized," the message read. "Commence Operation Darkfall." She allowed herself a grim smile. For months, humans had presented themselves as technological infants to the galaxy, hiding their true capabilities behind a facade of primitive spacecraft and basic weapons. That deception was about to end. In the Arcturus sector, an Arxian battle fleet detected what appeared to be a small group of human merchant vessels. Supreme War Master Kexal, eager to prove himself after the embarrassment of the disappearing colonies, ordered an immediate attack. "Primitive humans," he sneered, his scaled skin gleaming under the bridge lights. "Show them what real power looks like." The Arxian ships opened fire, only to watch in horror as their energy weapons passed straight through the human vessels. The merchant ships flickered and vanished, revealed as holograms. Behind them, space itself seemed to tear open. What emerged from the quantum rift would haunt Arxian nightmares for generations. Human warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, vessels that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Their hulls shifted like liquid metal, weapons appearing and disappearing at will. Energy fields that didn't just deflect attacks but absorbed them, growing stronger with each hit. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega," Volkov commanded. Her fleet moved with impossible precision, their quantum-linked AIs coordinating maneuvers that no organic crew could achieve. The Arxian ships found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to know their moves before they made them. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. When it was over, the pride of the Arxian fleet hung dead in space, their systems corrupted by human quantum viruses, their crews trapped in temporal stasis fields, forced to experience the same frozen moment of terror that Olivia Bennett had endured. In his palace on Vexor Prime, High Archon Vwextel received the reports with growing dread. The humans weren't just defeating his forces, they were systematically dismantling everything the Arxian Empire had built. Each attack revealed new technologies that shouldn't have been possible, strategies that seemed to border on precognition. How, he demanded of his advisors. How could they have hidden such power? The answer came from an unexpected source, a junior analyst who had been studying human entertainment broadcasts. "My lord," she said, trembling, "I believe they wanted us to attack them. Everything they showed us, every weakness they displayed, it was all carefully crafted to encourage our betrayal." The revelation hit like a physical blow. The humans hadn't just prepared for Arxian treachery, they had counted on it. Each diplomatic mission, each trade negotiation, had been part of an elaborate trap. They had seeded their technologies throughout Arxian space, waiting for the moment when their enemy's pride would trigger their own destruction. On Earth, in the depths of strategic command, Admiral Tanaka watched the operations unfold. Holographic displays showed hundreds of human ships emerging from hidden bases throughout the galaxy, bases that had been constructed years before the Arxians even knew humans existed. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Begin Phase 3. Across Arxian space, quantum processors hidden in everything from children's toys to military equipment activated. The Empire's technological infrastructure began to decrypt and rewrite itself, centuries of advancement vanishing in moments. The message was clear: humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they had prepared for absolute victory. The Arxians had thought they were teaching the galaxy a lesson about power. Instead, they were about to learn one about the dangers of underestimating a species that had turned deception into an art form. And in her stasis chamber aboard the Nemesis, Olivia Bennett slept on, preserved at the moment of her capture, a symbol of everything the Arxians had failed to understand about humanity. They had mistaken patience for weakness, preparation for primitiveness, and diplomatic overtures for submission. That mistake would cost them their empire. The crystalline towers of Vexor Prime cast rainbow shadows across the Arxian capital streets as High Archon Vyxtel prepared for the most important address of his 10,000-year-old civilization. His ceremonial armor, normally gleaming with perfect light-refracting patterns, showed subtle imperfections, microscopic cracks from the stress of recent weeks. "Citizens of the Eternal Empire," he began, his voice carried across every quantum channel in Arxian space. "We face an enemy that has revealed itself to be far more than the primitive species we once believed them to be. But we are Arxian. We have dominated the stars since before their ancestors learned to make fire. We will not bow." Even as he spoke, Operation Stormbreak's third phase began. Above the Arxian colony world of Nexus 6, the Empire's most ambitious military response was taking shape. Supreme War Master Kexhal had gathered the largest battle fleet in galactic history, 15,000 warships, including the legendary Phoenix-class dreadnoughts that could harness the power of dying stars. "The humans have shown cunning," Kexhal addressed his fleet commanders. "But they cannot stand against the combined might of our empire. Today, we remind the galaxy why we have ruled for 10 millennia." In her command chair aboard the ESS Nemesis, Commander Natasha Volkov received the intelligence reports with a cold smile. "They've taken the bait," she transmitted to Admiral Tanaka. "All pieces are in position." The Arxian fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect attack formation, their energy weapons charged, their Starkiller devices primed. They expected to find Earth's main battle group. Instead, they found empty space. Kexhal barely had time to register his confusion before reality itself seemed to shatter. The human fleet hadn't fled, they had evolved beyond the need for traditional spacecraft. What the Arxians witnessed next would be spoken of in whispers for generations to come. The void erupted with quantum storms, swirling vortexes of pure energy that had once been human ships. The fleet had transformed itself into living mathematical equations, weapons that operated on the fundamental laws of physics themselves. "Impossible!" Kexhal's scream of denial was cut short as his flagship's quantum core inverted. Across his fleet, Arxian technology began to turn against itself. Their mighty dreadnoughts, pride of the Empire, transformed into abstract energy constructs that defied comprehension. The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 5 minutes. When it was over, the greatest fleet in Arxian history had become something else entirely, each ship transformed into a quantum-locked monument, their crews frozen in time, forced to eternally witness the moment of their defeat. On Earth, in the Strategic Command Center deep beneath the Himalayas, Admiral Tanaka watched the operation's success with grim satisfaction. "Begin the broadcast," he ordered. Across every planet, every station, every ship in the galaxy, screens came to life. The message was simple but devastating: footage from the Centauri Peace Summit, showing the execution of Earth's diplomats, played alongside real-time images of humanity's response. The galaxy watched as the mighty Arxian Empire crumbled before weapons and strategies they couldn't even comprehend. But humanity's true mastery wasn't in their military might, it was in what came next. Professor Richard Chin, Earth's leading quantum physicist, stood before the Galactic Council, explaining what was about to happen. "The Arxians built their civilization on technological supremacy," he began. "Today, we show them the price of that pride." Across Arxian space, invisible quantum processors that had been hidden in their technology for years began their work. Every advanced system, every database, every AI network, all of it began to decrypt and rewrite itself. Centuries of technological development simply vanished, replaced by basic systems that would force the Arxians to rebuild everything from the ground up. The message was clear: power without wisdom, advancement without empathy, these were luxuries humanity would no longer permit in the galaxy. In his palace on Vexor Prime, High Archon Vyxtel watched helplessly as his civilization's technology regressed centuries in a matter of hours. The mighty defense systems, the quantum networks, the very foundations of Arxian superiority, all of it slipped away like sand through fingers. But it was the final transmission that broke him. A hologram appeared in his private chambers, Olivia Bennett, alive and awake, looking directly at him. Behind her stood the leaders of Earth's military, scientific, and diplomatic corps. They hadn't just defeated the Arxians, they had orchestrated every moment of it, from the first diplomatic contact to this final revelation. "You thought you were teaching the galaxy about power," Olivia said softly. "Instead, you taught us about the importance of hiding it until the right moment. You showed us that peace must be protected with the absolute capability for war. But most importantly, you taught us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to." The transmission ended, leaving Vyxtel alone in his darkening palace as the last of its advanced systems shut down. Outside, the crystalline spires of the capital dimmed for the first time in 10,000 years. In orbit above, human ships maintained their silent vigil, guardians of a new era they had forcefully ushered in. The price of pride, it seemed, was not death, but rebirth. Across the galaxy, other species watched in stunned silence as humanity revealed itself to be something far more complex than either victim or conqueror. They had orchestrated not just a military victory, but a complete restructuring of galactic society. In the darkness of space, more human fleets emerged from hiding, their true forms now visible to all. They were no longer pretending to be primitive vessels, they were monuments to what humanity had become while the Arxians weren't watching, architects of a new galactic order. The age of Arxian dominance was over. But this wasn't just a changing of the guard, it was a fundamental shift in how power would be wielded in the galaxy. Humanity had proven that true strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the capacity to transform. And aboard the Nemesis, Commander Volkov stood before Olivia's stasis pod one last time. "Wake her," she ordered. It's time she saw what her sacrifice helped build. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. They had proven themselves masters not just of war, but of change itself. The question now was, what kind of future would they shape from the ashes of the old order? The sunset over Vexor Prime was different now. Without the quantum-enhanced atmospheric processors, the sky burned in natural shades of purple and crimson. From her office in the newly established Earth Embassy, Olivia Bennett watched Arxian citizens adapting to their transformed world. The once mighty crystalline towers now stood dark, their advanced systems reduced to basic functions. 3 months had passed since humanity's victory, and the weight of that triumph was beginning to show in unexpected ways. Another protest in the lower districts, Commander Volkov reported, entering the office with her usual military precision. Medical supplies are running low without their automated production systems. They're calling it the long night. Olivia turned from the window, her young face bearing the weight of decisions that had affected billions. "Are we becoming what we fought against?" she asked softly. "We won the war, but at what cost to our own humanity?" The question resonated through every level of human leadership. In Earth's Strategic Command, Admiral Tanaka faced a growing crisis. The tactical displays that had once shown military victories now revealed a more complex battlefield: social unrest, economic collapse, and mounting humanitarian concerns across former Arxian space. "We've received a transmission from the Centaurian Federation," his aide reported. "They're questioning our methods." The phrase, "tyranny of justice," is being used in diplomatic circles. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. In preventing future aggression, humanity had sparked a new kind of fear in the galaxy. But something unexpected was emerging from the chaos: hope, from the most unlikely source. On the Arxian colony world of Nova Arcturus, a remarkable movement was taking shape. A group of young Arxians, led by a former Imperial scientist named Zyra, had approached the human peacekeeping force with an unprecedented request. They wanted to learn, not just about technology, but about humanity itself. "We were taught that power came from dominance," Zyra explained to Professor Rajesh Kumar, one of Earth's leading xenoanthropologists. "But watching how you defeated us, you had the power to destroy us completely, yet you chose a different path. We want to understand why." The phenomenon spread. Across the former empire, communities began to view their technological regression not as punishment, but as an opportunity for cultural rebirth. Some Arxians voluntarily dismantled systems that humans had left intact, choosing to rebuild from fundamental principles. Commander Volkov's perspective shifted dramatically after an unexpected encounter. A young Arxian girl named Thela had somehow managed to sneak aboard the ESS Nemesis. Instead of the expected act of sabotage, she delivered a message that would change everything. "My father was chief researcher at the Centauri Summit," Thela revealed, her scales dulled with emotion. "He tried to warn your people about the planned betrayal. There were many of us who opposed the Empire's actions, but our voices were silenced. Before he was executed for treason, he left this." She handed over a quantum crystal containing thousands of recorded messages, evidence of an underground resistance movement within Arxian society that had tried to prevent the conflict. The revelation shook the human leadership to its core. Project Oracle, the vast quantum network that had enabled humanity's victory, detected something unprecedented. On a distant Arxian colony, a community had achieved what their scientists had previously thought impossible: they had developed primitive telepathic abilities. Professor Kumar's research team made a startling discovery. "The Arxian brain structure is changing," he reported to the Earth Council. "Without the constant interface with advanced technology, their natural evolutionary path is reasserting itself. They're developing empathic capabilities that were suppressed by their technological dependence." The implications were staggering. The very act of stripping away their technology had inadvertently unlocked new potential within the Arxian species. They were becoming something entirely new, neither the conquerors they had been, nor simply a subjugated people. Olivia Bennett brought a radical proposal to the Earth Defense Council. "We need to establish a path to redemption," she argued. "Not universal restoration of technology, but a way for Arxian communities to earn back capabilities through demonstrated ethical advancement." The council chambers erupted in debate. Some argued that any relaxation of restrictions would invite future betrayal. Others saw the potential for a truly transformative peace. The debate was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the outer colonies. Project Oracle had detected something impossible. An Arxian settlement had completely transformed itself, not through human intervention, but through choice. They called themselves the Reborn, and their message was simple: we understand now. Help us build something new. The quantum sensors confirmed what seemed impossible. They had achieved technological advancement while maintaining perfect harmony with their evolutionary awakening. They had found a balance that had eluded their civilization for millennia. Commander Volkov, reviewing the data from her command center, realized the true scope of what humanity had achieved. They hadn't just won a war or punished an enemy, they had inadvertently triggered the next stage of Arxian evolution. Perhaps this was the real victory, she mused to Olivia. Not in destroying their civilization, but in creating the conditions for its rebirth. The Reborn movement spread rapidly, each community finding its own path to balance technology with wisdom. The galaxy watched in amazement as former conquerors transformed into something unprecedented, a civilization learning to advance through cooperation rather than dominance. But challenges remained. Not all Arxians embraced change. Some clung to their old ways, forming resistance groups that threatened the fragile peace. The human leadership faced difficult decisions about how to handle these elements without becoming the very thing they had fought against. As the sun set on another transformed day, Olivia stood in the embassy garden, watching Arxian children playing with their newly discovered empathic abilities. Among them was Thela, teaching younger ones to understand and control their emerging powers. We won the war, Olivia reflected, but the real victory might be in what comes after. Not in what we destroyed, but in what we're helping to build. The galaxy was changing. The question was no longer about victory or defeat, but about the responsibility that came with the power to transform civilizations. Humanity had shown they could win a war, now they had to prove they could build a lasting peace. The Galactic Assembly's quantum glass dome captured Earth's reflection, a gleaming blue jewel suspended in space. Inside the newly constructed chamber, representatives from every spacefaring civilization gathered for what would become the most significant diplomatic summit in galactic history. The massive structure, orbiting humanity's homeworld, served as both a reminder of power and a promise of transformation. 2 years had passed since humanity's systematic dismantling of the Arxian Empire. Now, the time had come to shape what would rise from those ashes. Olivia Bennett stood at the central podium, her diplomatic robes a stark white against the backdrop of stars. She was no longer the terrified young woman who had witnessed her colleague's execution, but a symbol of humanity's complex journey through vengeance to wisdom. We gather today not to celebrate victory, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, but to acknowledge transformation. 2 years ago, humanity showed the galaxy our capacity for retribution. Today, we choose to demonstrate something far more powerful, our capacity for renaissance. In the audience, Commander Natasha Volkov sat beside Thela, the young Arxian who had become a bridge between their civilizations. Now a leader among the Reborn movement, Thela's scales shimmered with the iridescent patterns that marked the emergence of her people's new empathic abilities. The main display activated, showing the results of Project Oracle's final analysis. Admiral Tanaka, his uniform bearing new insignia representing Earth's transformed military doctrine, presented the findings. The quantum barriers restricting Arxian technological development are ready to be modified, he announced. Not eliminated, but transformed. Each community's access to advanced technology will be linked directly to their demonstrable ethical development and peaceful cooperation. The announcement sent ripples through the assembly. This was more than just the end of restrictions, it was the implementation of a new paradigm for galactic civilization. The reborn colonies had proved it could work, developing societies that balance technological advancement with spiritual and emotional evolution. Professor Kumar stepped forward, his holographic displays showing the extraordinary developments in Arxian neurobiology. What we're witnessing is unprecedented, he explained. The Arxians aren't just adapting to technological restrictions, they're evolving. Their forced separation from advanced technology has awakened dormant capabilities within their species. The evidence was undeniable. In reborn communities, Arxian children were developing abilities that their ancestors had sacrificed in their pursuit of technological dominance. They could sense emotions, share thoughts, and connect with each other in ways that transformed their entire society. High Archon Vwxtel, now stripped of his former power but present as a witness, watched with a mixture of bitterness and dawning understanding. "We thought technology was the path to supremacy," he admitted, speaking publicly for the first time since his empire's fall. "We never imagined that our greatest potential lay in what we had suppressed within ourselves." A holographic projection filled the chamber, showing the transformation of the former Arxian homeworld. The crystalline cities that had once symbolized their dominance were being rebuilt, but differently. Natural formations intertwined with structures designed to enhance their species' emerging capabilities. Technology served evolution, rather than replacing it. Commander Volkov took the podium next, her military bearing softened by 2 years of working with the transformed communities. Operation Stormbreak began as an act of vengeance, she acknowledged. It became something else, a catalyst for change that none of us could have predicted. The assembly watched as she presented evidence of similar awakening potential in other species. The forced examination of the Arxian situation had led many civilizations to question their own relationship with technology and power. The Centaurian Federation's ambassador, speaking for many of the galaxy's younger civilizations, pledged support for what was being called the Evolutionary Concordat, a new approach to technological development that emphasized balance and ethical advancement over pure capability. But it was Thiela's presentation that captured the true magnitude of what was happening. Standing before the assembly, she demonstrated the abilities that were becoming common among her generation. The chamber fell silent as she projected her emotions directly to the gathered representatives, letting them feel the journey from fear to understanding, from hatred to hope. "This is not just an Arxian transformation," she explained. "This is a galactic awakening. What humanity forced upon us through victory, we now choose to embrace by choice." Olivia returned to the podium for the final pronouncement. Behind her, Earth's military commanders stood alongside leaders of the reborn movement, former enemies united in the pursuit of something greater than conquest. "The quantum barriers will be lifted gradually," she announced. "But this time, technological advancement will be guided by wisdom, not pride. The gateway to the stars must be earned through understanding, not seized through force." As she spoke, Project Oracle's quantum processors initiated their final task. The same network that had enabled humanity's victory now transformed into something new, a galactic framework for monitoring and nurturing ethical and technological coevolution. The assembly concluded with the signing of the New Dawn Accords. The document, written in collaboration between humans, reborn Arxians, and representatives from across the galaxy, established principles for advancement that went beyond mere technological capability. High above Earth, the quantum glass dome of the Galactic Assembly captured the light of distant stars. Each point of light represented not just potential worlds to explore, but civilizations that might one day evolve beyond their current limitations. Commander Volkov found Olivia in the observation deck after the ceremony. "Did you ever imagine," she asked, "when you stood before the Arxian High Council that day, that it would lead to this?" Olivia watched Earth rotate below, her reflection in the quantum glass showing not the scars of trauma, but the wisdom born from transcending it. "We thought we were fighting for justice," she replied. "Instead, we became midwives to evolution." The stars seemed brighter somehow, witnesses to the dawn of a new era. Not an age of empires or revenge, but one of transformation and discovery. The price of pride had been paid, and from its ashes, something greater had emerged, a future that honored both the power of technology and the wisdom to wield it well. In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't in defeating an empire, but in helping to birth a new way of existing among the stars. The galaxy had learned its lesson, but not the one the Arxian Empire had intended to teach. Instead, it had learned something far more valuable, that true power lies not in the ability to dominate, but in the wisdom to transform and the courage to evolve.